Hashtag Trending would like to thank Meter for their support in bringing you this podcast. Meter delivers a complete networking stack, wired, wireless, and cellular in one integrated solution that's built for performance and scale. You can find them at meter.com/HTT. Quit GPT and Anthropic's $20 million move. Is AI drifting into politics? Hyperscalers double down on data centers even as resistance grows, and AI is boosting productivity. So why are workers burning out? Welcome to Hashtag Trending for this Friday the 13th. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. There's a movement now encouraging people to cancel their ChatGPT subscriptions. It's called Quit GPT. And as reported by the MIT Technology Review, the campaign argues that OpenAI has drifted away from its original mission and become too commercially and politically entangled. The concern isn't about features or pricing, it's about direction and trust. Now here's something that gives the story some weight. A recent Instagram post from the campaign has generated more than 36 million views and 1.3 million likes. The organizers say that over 17,000 people have formally signed up on the campaign's website, where participants indicate whether or not they've canceled their subscriptions, plan to stop using ChatGPT, or will promote the boycott on social media. In the context of ChatGPT's reported up to 900 million weekly users, those numbers are still small. But they're not trivial. Movements rarely start with millions. They start with measurable signals. And the larger signal here is about politics. Now, we try to keep politics out of the program because most of you come here for technology, not ideology. Many AI users appear to feel the same way. They want tools that write code, summarize research, draft documents, not tools that feel aligned with one political direction or another. And more, people are relying on AI as their source of truth. That has its own issues, including how easy it would be to control the AI's responses. We've seen examples, particularly from Grok AI recently, which isn't the only one, but it was an extreme example of how a model can be quickly co-opted into a particular bias. So, trust in AI is fragile, or at least it should be. The moment users feel that there's bias, corporate, ideological, or regulatory, the backlash could be powerful, particularly if competition continues to exist and if competitors can exploit these issues. And the proof of that arrived almost on cue. Reuters reported that Anthropic plans to donate $20 million to a U.S. political group, but one backing AI regulation. Now that move is explicit. Anthropic has long positioned itself as a safety-first, pro-regulation company. This donation reinforces that stance and makes a statement that they aren't contributing to a party to gain favor or avoid regulation. Rather, they are encouraging it. So you have two signals at the same time. A grassroots campaign urging users to walk away from what they see as politicized AI. And then you have a major AI company openly funding political efforts to bring in regulation. It will be interesting to see if there's a negative reaction to that as well. And as AI increasingly becomes embedded in our core infrastructure, our work, our research, our government, our entertainment, neutrality might become a competitive advantage. Because users may tolerate a bad answer, but hopefully they won't tolerate a loss of objectivity and trust. I know that most of my references are pretty old, but there's a song by The Who that comes out of the 1960s that says, "We won't be fooled again." Not so sure about that. For all the talk about an AI bubble, the biggest tech companies have not cut back on their spending plans. According to Axios, Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google are forecasting capital expenditures that could total roughly $650 billion this year, much of it tied directly to AI infrastructure and data center expansion. Individually, the numbers are staggering. Amazon is expected to lead with projected spending near $200 billion. Alphabet has guided roughly $175 billion to $185 billion. Meta is targeting somewhere in the $115 to $135 billion range. And even Microsoft, that has talked earlier about cutting back on some of this, is expected to spend just under or around $100 billion. This is not incremental spending. This is significant growth. And as we've covered recently, that growth is having an impact on communities. That's turning up in citizen protests and now in new regulation. We did a story yesterday on New York proposing a 3-year moratorium on data centers, which would, if that trend spreads, be a big obstacle to these capital plans. And there are reports that the U.S. administration may use regulation to try and get ahead of this pushback on data center construction. They're talking about formalizing a framework similar to the commitments Microsoft has already been making, promising things like new data centers will cover the additional power infrastructure costs, so local rate. The U.S. administration is talking about formalizing a framework similar to commitments Microsoft has already been making, promising that new data centers will cover the additional power infrastructure costs, so local ratepayers don't shoulder higher electricity bills when data centers are built. And there's also an emphasis on ensuring these facilities generate measurable local jobs beyond temporary construction roles. That matters because the resistance is real. Communities in several states are pushing back over energy demand, water consumption, environmental impact, and more. But AI needs that massive compute. Massive compute needs massive power, and that makes these projects highly visible and very important. The capital is committed, the hyperscalers are moving ahead, governments appear to be willing to smooth the path, and ultimately, our problem may not be a bubble. It might be a brick wall where citizen resistance slows or stops projects, or just increases the costs of building what companies have to build to keep this AI momentum going forward. We've been told two things about AI and work. First, that AI is going to eliminate jobs. Second, that it hasn't yet delivered measurable productivity gains across the broader economy. And it turns out that two things can be true at the same time, or as new research suggests, it might be something more complicated than that. An article this month in the Harvard Business Review, based on an 8-month field study inside a U.S. technology company, found that AI tools did increase task-level productivity. Employees completed work faster and expanded their capabilities. But instead of reducing workload, AI use led workers to be assigned or to take on more tasks, including responsibilities that they previously outsourced or even avoided. Instead of reducing workload, AI use led workers to take on more tasks or be assigned more tasks, including responsibilities they previously outsourced or avoided. So the researchers are arguing that AI doesn't reduce work, it intensifies it. When tools make you more productive, expectations rise. Now, zoom out for a second here. At the macroeconomic level, the productivity gains from AI are still modest. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics data shows incremental labor productivity growth, but nothing yet resembling a historic AI-driven surge. Economists have repeatedly noted that transformative technologies often take years to show up in national productivity statistics, just as electrification and early computing did. So here's the tension. At the company level, workers may feel AI accelerating the pace and scope of their work right now. At the national level, the numbers still look incremental, and that gap may explain the emergence of what some are calling AI burnout. If companies expect returns on expensive AI investments immediately, they push for higher output before structural gains fully materialize. So when AI makes individuals more capable, organizations are facing a choice. They could use that capacity to ease pressure, cut back on hours, have 3-day work weeks, or they can redefine what normal performance means. Histories and some current trends, particularly in tech companies, indicate that the result is going to be that they'll redefine normal performance. There have been stories in India and China, particularly, of huge issues of burnout, and we've mentioned the move to 996, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. There was an actual story in China of one person who died of overwork, and as they were being taken to the hospital, they were being added to another work group. That's just one story, but it is real. But North America and Europe have, in the past and currently, resisted those extremes. But there are indications, particularly post-COVID in the US, that AI could be working to drive longer hours and more work. And that may lead to what these researchers were calling AI burnout. And that's our show. Join us this weekend for our Project Synapse Weekend panel, where we'll no doubt be looking at AI burnout and more. And once again, we'd like to thank Meter for their support in bringing you this podcast. Meter delivers full-stack networking infrastructure, wired, wireless, and cellular to leading enterprises. Working with their partners, Meter designs, deploys, and manages everything required to get performant, reliable, and secure connectivity in a space. They design the hardware, the firmware, build the software, manage deployments, and run support. It's a single integrated solution that scales from branch offices to warehouses to large campuses to data centers. Book a demo at meter.com/HTT. That's meter.com/HTT. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a fabulous Friday.